Alright, what's up, yins, guys? Time for another video. I'm gonna read this book again, another paragraph. And this one is on philanthropies, and I got multiple opinions on this myself, There's some mixed facts and opinions about this chapter, and then I have my own opinions. I have to talk in parentheses a little bit, but philanthropies, yeah. I always said too, just like, this chapter on philanthropies, I think I even did a video sarcastically talking about the owner of Amazon, giving away like $1 billion. Well, we're taking our word for, did he actually give $1 billion to some environmental group to prevent global warming, and handing somebody money. Yeah, what exactly are they doing to stop global warming and to educate people with that kind of money? I mean, if I were him, I'd be worried, like, where is that money really going to go? People going to sit pretty on that money? But I always said it's multi-intention. And, of course, they make sure they want more for their money, too. They want, it's a bribe in disguise in some cases. Sometimes there's good intentions or whatever, a little bit, supposedly, but a bribe in disguise or for all kind of other things. But yeah, they want to make sure they get advertising to their company too, so in the end they want to make sure they make money off of it too in the long run. But there's multi-intention, multi-purpose, multi-intention, I think. But I'll talk in parentheses when I read this too, because I'm not against certain philanthropies and things like the arts. I'll explain in a second, Well, anyway, some of us, far as music, cross over to jazz and classical. I actually used to listen to a station that used to be a jazz station, and now we put the classical station on sometimes because depending on some of our musics that cross over, we'll have a taste for something and put it on the radio. And some things in arts, a little bit of things. Some of us, I think, they do want the arts around to a certain extent. But okay, we're going to read about this in these intentions too. But I think this chapter can be expanded upon. But okay, philanthropies. Let me get my stuff out of here I was using for a bookmark out of the way here. It's distracting me. Philanthropies. All right, so much of business is built on the foundation of deceiving or being deceived that it is no wonder products are produced as well as they are, or anything else even gets done. It seems business cannot deal with anything unless it conceals its motive. Well, in my opinion, it conceals certain motives. And there's certain motives that don't conceal, and practically, in so many words, tells you. So it's I think in so many words, it's telling you motives. And at the same time, it'll outright tell you some motives, and then, well, in so many words, telling you other ones in a broad hint or in discrete code, or does some things, outright and tells people outright, and gives money to cloak other intentions, and wink, wink, that's my thing. But okay, I'm already talking between the lines and parentheses, but I've said this stuff before in videos, but it sure as hell a far cry from just reading like a zombie, but okay. It seems it cannot deal with anything unless it conceals its motive. It conceals its motive and sometimes tells you outright, but there's multiple motive and ulterior motive too. Okay, and it cannot touch anything or anyone without corrupting it. An understatement. Corporate philanthropy is a case in point. Well, look at things like on some of the YouTube videos, especially YouTubers like Paul Joseph Watson. A person that spends a ridiculous amount of money for a banana duct taped to a wall. I'm going to talk in parentheses and just interrupt this reading again. The author of this... Damn, I got this camera problem. The wind's going to blow the camera. Anyway, I'm wondering if the author, when he wrote this book over 20 years ago or so, when I first started, damn it, that the author of this book, if he's around now, and if he would like to write another a revised version of this book, if when he actually wrote this book, that he would perceive how philanthropy was getting so fucking ridiculous now, like a banana being duct taped on the wall. So yeah, I'm just interrupting this reading, telling you that now. I'm trying to think in pictures of the author of this book, the faces he'd probably be making now along with the rest of us. He'd probably be like, oh, Jesus fucking Christ, you know? Yeah. But anyway, yeah. I had to get that in, okay? So, all right. Corporate philanthropy is a case in point. When in Texas magnate H. Ross Perot. Oh yeah, remember him? He ran for president, way back, and he was criticized for a lot of things. Okay. Yeah, remember Ross Perot? I remember that guy's voice too. Still in my head. His face is still in my head. Yeah, with the Texas magnate H. Ross Perot had first made many millions, indeed momentarily a billion or two, out of installing and programming computer systems for state welfare programs. He announced that he would take no deductions on his numerous charitable contributions because he did not want to take tax revenue away from a government that he ineffably supposedly was dear to him. So, other words, I guess he openly, so he said, was giving away money for philanthropy. That's a hard word for me to say. Philanthropy or philanthropy. Okay, yeah, he was a philanthropist. But yeah, he was trying to show, okay, my contributions are tax deductible, but I don't want to take the tax deduction. I wanted to, maybe if his things were true, maybe he were probably thinking too in future about, inflation and trying not to contribute to it, trying to put money back in. But anyway, yeah, a lot of people too, to talk in parentheses, yeah, they want that tax deductible. They want to make sure that they get the deduction and taxes, and they'd like a bigger one if they could get it, And since they're giving all that money, they want to make sure they advertise the company, so ultimately they make back the big amount of money they looked so noble to everybody they gave. They want to make it back and then some. They figure they might as well get some advertising in, and maybe the goodwill gesture will influence the business, Well, hell, you can be a mafia boss too, and own companies or whatever, and do that too, I mean, I understand that, but okay, all right. So, yeah, in that case, bribe people, wink, wink, don't investigate me for this or that, But okay, so other philanthropists, while protesting their affection for the government, nevertheless concluded that Perot was mad. So they thought, yeah, man, you're crazy, man. We wouldn't take the tax deduction, or you're actually just lying and you're taking the tax deduction anyway, trying to be noble. But that's just my thinking. And it does appear that he soon changed his mind and began taking his deductions along with the other angels. See that, So, my case in point. It took this relatively naive East Texan little time to recognize formally the moral fudge inherent in tax-deductible philanthropy, and in briefly act on his recognition. His initial generosity showed clearly that the original charitable motive, his initial generosity showed clearly that the original charitable motive for his sharing what once had acquired had not been entirely eroded by the on-watch march of industrial specialization. What has been most seriously eroded, according to John Brooks, whoever John Brooks is the ability to, let's read this again. What has been most seriously eroded, according to John Brooks, is the ability of the giver to feel deep down that he or should be really acting charitable at all. Like, this is most conspicuous in corporate philanthropy, giving for the general good, not by individuals or philanthropic foundations, but by corporations, normally devoted only to accumulating money. Small groups or stockholders resent this imperious distribution of community to okay. Stockholders resent this imperious distribution to community projects, cultural TV programs, and the like of money that they consider to be properly theirs. It's mine. Who the hell are you? The corporations, living as they do in a legalistic atmosphere, have to defend themselves on practical rather than moral grounds. They argue they argue that their philanthropy is necessary for the promotion of good public to the community and government relations. Good PR. If any, say, an oil company did not sponsor exhibitions of avant-garde art, the public might come to loathe it so much that the government would be forced to crack down on its pollution and its profits. But does the public really love avant-garde art that much? No evidence exists that it does. Some people argued that a lot of it sucks, you know what I mean? But some people, we can say a few of us can pick certain things that, we like, even myself. So, yes, there is a lot of stuff that, sucks, but yet some of us, I used to listen to things like on NPR. It used to be a jazz station. There were some political commentary shows on. There was different kinds of music. Once that used to be a jazz station, played this different kind of cultural music one time, and one station even had Grateful Dead hour. And I was talking to my girlfriend about that one day, and I looked up on Google to see if Grateful Dead hour is even played on there on any radio stations. I found some evidence it still is, but yeah. So it wasn't just all bad opera music or things. There was NPR related stations that. Some of us that listen to Metallica when we were younger listen to a little classical music, go to the classical station, and there's that station that comes in once in a while. I used to listen to it. Garrison Keillor with a Prairie Home Companion would be on, and I used to like his humor about, he used to tell his stories, little humor stories, Guy Noir, Private Eye, and talk about his little, over in, where that, what do you call it? Where he's at in the one city. The church of, the little bake sales or make humor about the Church of Our Lady of Perpetual Responsibility. Minnesota, the state of Minnesota, yeah. So, he was always talking about, Minnesota, there. But anyway, and it used to be a jazz station. There'd be a mix of different kind of things. You'd even have NPR-related stations somewhere around there. That there would be one day in the morning or afternoon, late at night, even in the middle. There'd be like some New Age music or Native American music. So, remember when I was in college, when I was taking these different computer classes, Intro to Business counted as an elective, and my instructor for Intro to Business was talking about oil companies and always stuff about philanthropy, and they were patronizing the opera music and things like that, all kind of bunch of stuff that, anyway, not to get back on the subject here, no evidence exists that it really does. There sometimes seems to be a lack of communication between corporate philanthropists and their constituency. The corporate giving department becomes often literally part of the public relations department. Charity at least reduced the ultimate step to the status of a form of institutional advertising. So it was laced with advertising. They ain't gonna just do it for nothing. They want to get their advertising for the company there, because ultimately, like I said, you can make back a lot of what you give, especially if you're a multi-billion-dollar industry, and yeah, your philanthropy is almost like putting an ad in. Well, hell, they say ads on commercials for all corporations on TV, whatever they're selling during the Super Bowl. The ads are very expensive. Maybe they might think that in some cases they're getting a good deal. I mean, comparative, give or take, to advertising on TV, putting an ad out during the Super Bowl. I'm just being sarcastic. I'm guessing. You'd have to look all that shit up to be totally correct. I'm being slightly sarcastic, you know what I mean? But ads for television doing certain things, and radio doing certain things, come cheap or whatever. And people want to look noble and wink, wink. Like you donate so much here, and you can look the other way, turn a blind eye to a few things. But okay. Not only does corporate philanthropy transform and distort the intent of philanthropy, but the process attempts to corrupt the receiver. Brooks says partly out of old habit, partly out of emulation of his new peers. He finds himself acting in certain ways like the platonic ideas of philanthropists, like the commonplace of man of affairs. Well, yeah, there's probably a little peer pressure. You want to appease your rich buddies, or like you're not as rich as your other buddies, and you want to get these people that bring you into this new business deal. Yeah. Well, the cartoon Family Guy who made fun of philanthropy, and The Simpsons somewhere on there made fun of it. But all right, let's get on with it. Okay. Simply approving a grant request and sending a check to the applicant is not, he learns, the way things are done in his office. Such conduct is apparently too far out of the American corporate mainstream. There has to be a dicker, a trade-off of one sort or another. Oh, okay. Other words, I struck you. Never mind. Let's better keep that one quiet. Yeah, certain sarcasm's quiet there, but when a promising application is received, is a conference of the department or a series of conferences. They got to discuss it with a committee, of course, at which negotiate the terms. I'm not just going to give you all this for nothing. Behind closed doors or wink, wink. You do something for me. You do something for me. I do something for you. That's like. But when a promising application received, there is a conference of the department of a series of conferences at which the application is discussed and ways proposed by which it can be remolded to serve better the goals of society as perceived by the pooled brains of the corporate giving department. Well, that goes to say a lot there, doesn't it? I could pause the reading of this and say a lot of sarcasms there, which a lot of YouTubers on this political things, already have been saying, and talk show hosts have already been saying, you know what I mean? But, all right. The applicant is summoned and asked to submit the proposal with changes to conform to the various whims and notions of the corporate givers, or perhaps the precarious consumers without qualification, in parentheses. The applicant, idealistically or foolishly stubborn, may balk. Now, the corporate philanthropist must proceed carefully because the applicant has the great public prestige and is so successful at what he does, not really needing the grant. But not really needing the grant is, of course, a prime qualification of getting one. Such a position gives an application status as a highly desirable grantee who's associated with the department would be as a father in its cap. So you can go see how a lot of things are bribes in disguise, you know what I mean? But no one can picture in his mind John D. Rockefeller giving away dimes to change his image. he was excoriated for his vicious monopolistic practices, you will have a key not only to the Rockefeller Foundation, uh, one of the largest in the world, but also to other philanthropies. Or in a lot of people, like what you're hearing now, key to the Playboy Mansion, or a membership of Bohemian Grove. The philanthropies may do some good, even a lot of good, but that was never their primary objective. The primary objective was to whitewash the giver. Yeah. Whitewash the public too in a lot of cases. And relieve guilt feelings to build false monuments to the source. It was all bullshit to begin with. It is any wonder that crisis. Wait a minute. Why am I getting the word crisis in my head? The word's critics. Okay, let's read that again. It is any wonder that critics of corporate America are demanding a new concept of the corporation, one of many responsibilities beyond economic, and a policy of substance regarding environment, safety, health, and morality. I kept using the word critics, and I kept seeing the word crisis instead of critics in my head. Well, because I see a lot of crises too, and philanthropists come down, and then there's critics during a crisis. So when I was seeing the word, if any wonder that the critics of corporate America, I kept messing up in my head there. You noticed that I kept seeing the word crisis instead of the word critics. But you got to wonder if the word critics and crises are going to your head, because those things go hand in hand, don't they? And they're exploited. That's why you were seeing my subconscious mind turning the word critics into crises. And well, punning a little bit, but okay. It is one thing to state that the means are important at the ends. It is another to reserve deeply ingrained and widespread corruption of bullshit in business that has so extensively contributed to the deterioration of society. Bullshit in business contributed to the deterioration of society. Well, they're selling a lot of bullshit products, music, ideas, and also instead of during the Super Bowl doing something, sports related as entertainment, like cheerleaders, they're putting these the Super Bowl halftime became an advertising board for people's bullshit music and their epileptic sex dance shows. Like we just saw in the last Super Bowl. But might as well get digs in about that too. Yeah, so it's not about sports anymore. It's about being the purveyor of bullshit and advertising and peddling your bullshit that you're selling. The halftime show became an advertising board for mainstream bullshit. But until we can deal with BS accurately and accept individual responsibility for our share of it, we will not be able to change things permanently in business nor in the world. So I guess in some ways, any of us that are purveyors of it are encouraging it in certain ways. Some of us were like on the TV, instead of being purveyors of it and going along and clapping along with the mainstream, we're like this. You know what I mean? So so some philanthropy can be good in some cases, good intentions, but a lot of times it's